As I sit here and I listen to the hearings on the insurrection, and yes, I'm listening. In fact, I've got it on right now on demand. You can find it on YouTube, all of them. But as I sit here listening to that, and I watch different comments from Republican voters, I remember one thing. In 2016, Hillary received over 3 million more votes than Trump in the popular vote. The Electoral College robbed the citizens of their vote. They robbed the majority of the citizens of the United States of America of their vote and pulled out of their ass a win for Trump. On January 20th or 6th of 2017, you did not see one single Democrat at the White House attacking and killing officers of the White House. Not one. You didn't even see it on the 17th or the 18th, the day after the Electoral College robbed the people of their vote. You didn't see it. Yeah, we were upset. Yeah, we complained about it. But you didn't see us violently attack the White House. Not one Democrat. In 2020, when Biden won over 81 million votes of the public votes, and Trump won only 74 million, meaning Biden won by over 7 million votes, far more than what Hillary won. And the Electoral College went in there and allowed the people's voice to be heard and elected into office Biden. Republican voters ascended onto the White House, attacking the White House police, killing some of them, intending to attack members of Congress, to kill them. All to turn over a fair election. It was fair by the public vote. It was fair by the electoral vote. Unlike the 2016 election. So you tell me, who are the true deplorable party? And it wasn't only the voters who were doing the attacking. It wasn't only the voters who were trying to do the illegal act of turning over the majority vote. It was the politicians that are supposed to protect our constitutional rights. who were advocating this and doing this and egging it on. And the biggest politician of them all that was doing it was the President of the United States. Because he couldn't handle the fact that he fairly lost an election. Now I'm going to put something to all you idiots out there. 2020, not only was the president on the ticket, but down ballot, there were also Senate and House members, there were mayors, there were state Senate and House members, there were Treasury, there were judges to be voted on the down ballot ticket. Now, if a ticket that was cast is fraudulent for the presidential election, if a ticket that was cast was supposedly cast unprovedly by an immigrant or a dead person and was not valid for the president, then that same ticket was not valid for anybody else on that ticket. Now remember, in 2020, Mitch McConnell re-ran for his Senate seat. And there were some senators who were newly elected to the House and the Senate. And some who were re-elected. So if you're saying that those tickets that voted for Biden were invalid for Biden, then on those tickets where the people voted for people like Mitch McConnell and other Republicans, they were invalid too. And that happened quite frequently in states like Michigan and other states, Georgia, Arizona. They voted against Trump and voted for the Republican on the down ballot ticket. So you're saying that those votes for Biden, were invalid because they were cast by immigrants and dead people. But they're valid for all the candidates below Trump? Are you really listening to yourself? So it's only invalid if the candidate of your choice didn't win. Because as a minority that lost the majority vote, your vote only counts. Well, I say, you want to invalidate Trump's win on the election? Then let's invalidate all of the tickets. Let's invalidate all of those candidates below Trump that won their elections. In places like Georgia and Arizona and Michigan. Let's invalidate their way. Because that would be the fair way to do it. Send those candidates home. Send Mitch McConnell home. Let's redo that election. Let's redo it with the primaries and the works. And just remember, us Democrats are going to be out there, and hopefully the Democratic politicians will be out there And we will be talking about how the Republicans attacked the White House to rob over 81 million voters of their vote with a fraudulent claim. We will be out there and we will be pointing out how the Republicans have filibustered any and all common sense gun laws. Won't even consider raising the age to 21 to buy an assault rifle or an AR-15. Won't even consider putting universal background checks in place. Won't consider putting in red flag laws where family members or law enforcement sees that somebody has a mental crisis and could be a danger to themselves or others, can take away their gun. By taking that to court and deeming that person unable to, at that moment, be able to own a gun. Doesn't mean the red law will make it so they never can own a gun. They just can't own that gun while they are in crisis. They won't even extend the waiting period for somebody to take custody of a gun so that if somebody's going in hot-headedly to buy a gun to commit a crime, has time to cool down. That is not taking guns away from law-abiding citizens. They won't even pass a law that states that if you want to own a gun, just like if you want to drive a car, you must pass a gun safety course to be sure that you understand your responsibility as a gun owner and how to safely store your gun, how to safely use your gun. They filibustered all of that. They filibustered laws that would help with this inflation problem we have because Putin started a war in Ukraine and Trump mismanaged a pandemic. But no, the Republicans will filibuster any bill that will mitigate that. We will be more than happy to point that out if we redo the election. Now, as I said, not one Democrat attacked the White House in 2016 when they had a more justifiable reason to. 2,000 or 3,000 Trump supporters, including the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who started towards the White House, didn't even attend the rally, started towards the White House just before Trump announced for his voters to go to the White House. The Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys had already started there and had already started to soften the lines for the supporters who were coming up behind them. They knew which windows in the White House were not bulletproof. They knew how to enter the White House. They knew where the hidden offices of Senate members was. Offices that members of the Senate have troubles finding sometimes. But the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers knew exactly where those were. Now, how could that be? Unless, of course, the day before the insurrection, somebody went on a tour of the White House with the help of a Republican Congress member, taking pictures of hallways and security stations and windows. You think maybe? I think I know what party is the true deplorable party. And that party does not start deep. It does have R in it, but it's more strongly a T for Trumplican. Because there are still decent Republicans out there, including the Republican in Arizona who would not go against his oath of office and do something illegal. Other states like Florida were more than willing to. Deplorables! I think in 2020 and 2016 or 2024, I think as many Democrat voters that should be outside of the Capitol when the Electoral College votes come through. In 2025, January 6th, Democrats should be outside of the White House. Not to attack it, but to remind the Electoral College who voted for who. And to protect the White House if the Republicans choose once again to attack it. To support the White House officers and push back. Regardless of whether or not we like how the Electoral College votes. As citizens of the United States and voters, we should demand that the White House is protected in 2025, January 6th. And we should help to give that White House that protection. To make sure never again that our Capitol and its constitutional process is ever again attacked. And to remember those of the Electoral College, to remind them that it's the majority of the people who determine who should be elected as president. It is not the minority of the individual. and for them to remember who it was that protected them and who it is that attacked them. Physically attacked them. Not only at the White House, but at their homes, at their places of work, at their offices. Because these Republican voters did not only attack Democratic members of Congress and of states, they attacked Republican political members. So let's let these people remember what party it is that has protected them. And what party it is that has respected the process of the election. Whether we like the fact that the Electoral College took away all the votes for Hillary Clinton or not, we respected the process. We didn't like it, but we respected it. The deplorable Republicans couldn't do that. And even the sitting president of the time would not do that. And was more than willing to not even only break the law to win an election, but to go against constitutional processes and to sick his own supporters onto that process. Remember that. Because it wasn't the Democrats who did that. The true deplorable party, I think you better think about it. It's the party that actually murdered White House officers. And they're called Republican, or more to the point, Trumplican. And there's far too many of them in the White House right now. It's one thing to have them out in the public as voters. It's horrific to have them sitting in the White House trying to illegally deny you of your legally cast vote and deny you your rights and to block and filibuster every single bill that they possibly can to hurt you just to show that the Democrats can't get anything done. When in truth, it's the Republicans blocking anything from getting done. And maybe the American people might want to think about possibly giving the Democrats the supermajority, the way the Republicans had during the whole time Trump was in office. They could get away with passing anything and everything. Because as long as every single Republican voted on a bill, it was filibuster proof. You could not filibuster it. So, yeah, the true deplorable, the ones that try to illegally turn over an election, The ones out there who are blocking every bill that can help the middle class and the poor. All to prove how ineffective the Democrats are. When in truth, it's the Republicans who are ineffective. I wouldn't have any problems with what Manchin and Sinema are doing if it wasn't for the fact that far too many Republicans are too much of a coward to do what's right and to help the people and to protect the children of our schools and the citizens in the grocery stores and our young people in the nightclubs and the concerts and the parks at some cheese festival or some girl in a neighborhood where a 10-year-old boy picks up his dad's rifle from the living room because he's pissed off at that little girl and then shoots and kills that little girl. Or some 2-year-old child who doesn't know better, who picks up a gun out of their mother's purse, shooting the mother and the father, killing the father. Or right here in Iowa, some gun-crazed idiot going to a parking lot in one of our churches here in Iowa and shooting people. Or how many other churches out there? The Tree of Life, the African American churches. How many churches out there have been attacked? How many more need to be attacked before the Republican does what's right to protect the people? How much higher must inflation get? How much more must our economy suffer before the Republicans do what's right for the people? Instead of what, shows to their base that the Democrats aren't doing nothing. The president can't do nothing. If the Senate and the House do not pass the bills needed to do something so that the president can pass those bills into law. If the Republicans are filibustering every bill, then how can the president ever sign any bill into law? Stop blaming Biden for all the crap the Republicans are blocking. Or I should say, for all the bills that will help America being blocked by the Republicans. You want to blame somebody? Then you blame the Republicans who are blocking these bills. Don't blame Biden. Don't blame the Democrats because they're trying to get these bills passed. If you want to blame any Democrat, blame Manchin and Sinema. Because every single bill that's come up, they voted with the Republicans. They can't even vote to protect your children in your school. or at the concert, or in the park, or at a grocery store, or in a mall, or at a church, or in your home. Don't blame Biden for that. You blame the Republicans' obstruction for that.